Majority Report with Sam Seder, where every day's Casual Friday. That means Monday is Casual Monday, Tuesday, Casual Tuesday, Wednesday, Casual Hump Day, Thursday, Casual Thurs, that's what we call it, and Friday, Casual Shabbat. The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
It is Friday, February 19th, 2021. My name is Emma Vigeland in for Sam Seder, and this is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, Ana Kasparian of TYT joins us on this Casual Friday to talk about the news. Meanwhile, the death toll from the winter storms across the United States rose to at least 49 people as of this morning, and at least 500,000 Texans are still without power. More storm fronts threaten parts of Texas, Arkansas, and more. Broken pipes and damaged water main lines have caused a shortage in drinkable water for the state, acutely affecting hospitals as well as households. Meanwhile, Senator Ted Cruz attempts to do damage control, as he was caught jetting off to Cancun as his state faces this massive crisis, and he's decided to blame his young daughters for needing a vacation. Always the epitome of class. The storms have also disrupted vaccine distribution throughout the country. Vaccine shipping centers have been slowed substantially, causing health centers and injection sites to postpone appointments. Meanwhile, the Biden administration has formally restarted negotiations with Iran to restore the widely praised Obama-era nuclear deal that President Trump scrapped. Biden faces challenges on his immigration proposal that would provide a pathway to citizenship for 11 million people. However, it is being met with pessimism due to the fact that Democrats have such slim majorities and the existence of the filibuster, of course. But Biden has also come under fire for abandoning his pledge, seemingly, to halt deportations. Democrats are also attempting to speed up the process of pushing Biden's $1.9 trillion pandemic aid package through Congress, as much of the existing jobs aid and other aid expires mid-March. Hopefully they finish on time. In Peru, scandal erupts after it was discovered that 500 wealthy and connected people received the Chinese coronavirus vaccine last year before it was even approved, and ahead of essential and healthcare workers. And lastly, the United Nations has spoken out against India's oppression of Kashmir, expressing concern about the conditions after, as many know, India's Hindu nationalist government ended a constitutional provision that gave citizenship rights to the majority Muslim region. All this and more on today's program. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this Casual Friday. I am happy that it's Friday, first week of me hosting solo with the help of Matt, and I'm excited for this show today because Anna's a great friend, always great to talk to her about politics, and we are chock full of news and clips today, so let's get to it. Andrew Cuomo continues to be mired in scandal as the governor of New York because he obscured almost half of the nursing home deaths due to coronavirus, allegedly, in order to bolster his public profile and his hopeful presidential run, which I believe might be squashed right now in 2024. That's my speculation on the matter. He wrote a book trying to herald himself as this COVID savior, the person who solved the pandemic, when the numbers were counterfactual to that. And they would have even been worse had he not covered up this nursing home death data. Now, Ron Kim, an assemblyman from the Queens area, I believe, he spoke out and said that Cuomo threatened him in a phone call if he did not stop speaking out about this cover-up. Now, Cuomo has fired back, calling him a liar, accusing him of criminal activity, pretty unsubstantiated, essentially trying to intimidate him like a mob boss. These are Trumpian tactics. I keep calling him Blue Trump because that's who he is. And if you follow New York politics at all, you'll know that this is not out of character for Cuomo. He has engaged in these tactics many a time. And we have confirmation from Bill de Blasio, mayor of New York City, who spoke to Morning Joe and confirmed that these kinds of incidents are in Cuomo's character and in his history.
Advisor for Governor Cuomo says, a senior advisor for Governor Cuomo says Kim is lying, that at no time did anyone threaten to destroy anyone with their wrath. I got to ask you, I don't want you to weigh in on that specifically, but you know Governor Cuomo, you guys have jousted in the past. He says, Kim says that he got this irate phone call that started out, "Are you an honorable man?" And it went for 10 minutes of him yelling and then threats to publicly tarnish him. Have you ever heard of anything like that from Governor Cuomo? Have you ever spoken with him and anything like that happened?
Yeah, it's a sad thing to say, Mika, but that's classic Andrew Cuomo. A lot of people in New York State have received those phone calls. The bullying is nothing new. I believe Ron Kim, and it's very, very sad. No public servant, no person who's telling the truth should be treated that way. But yeah, the threats, the belittling, the demand that someone change their statement right that moment, many, many times I've heard that, and I know a lot of other people in this state have heard that.
There you go. There you have it. We've heard rumblings about the way Cuomo has behaved. Cuomo's top aide, one of his top aides, was convicted on corruption charges. Cuomo has constantly, in the press, gone after Bill de Blasio, someone who's the mayor of the biggest city in his state, one of the biggest cities in the world. And yeah, a lot of people wrote that off as like, typical New York politics. This is just people jousting and trying to appear a certain way. But really, it was bullying. And I know that Bill de Blasio is a public figure, so it applies less to him. But it was an example of how Cuomo treats other people. And if he was treating de Blasio publicly like this, basically saying, I have the authority over you, I can treat you in this way, he was treating people with a lot less power, way worse behind the scenes, as Ron Kim revealed to the media. And just so people remember, no love lost for Bill de Blasio, especially in the way that he has caved and catered to the police union despite his campaign against them. I mean, he's capitulated to them as they use similar bullying tactics. But de Blasio is a way better person and politician than Andrew Cuomo. And de Blasio, maybe not politician, but in terms of his ideology, I should say. De Blasio wanted to lock down New York 5 days before Andrew Cuomo did, when COVID hit initially. Cuomo said no. That caused thousands more deaths. Thousands. And then Cuomo, I think, basically mocked de Blasio for that idea. And then 5 days later, we were all locked down. So he's arrogant. He's narcissistic. He's not fit to lead the state. I don't understand how, anyone's defending him at this point. If you're defending Andrew Cuomo at this point, you're blue MAGA. You're a part of a cult. You're obsessed with the blue side, and it's a personality-based nonsense, emotional argument.
Yeah, and I just want to say, the bullying is one thing. He's also more corrupt than a typical high school bully would be, though. Like this article from David Sirota in The Guardian from last May. Cuomo gave immunity to nursing home executives after big campaign donations. Critics say data proves New York's liability shield is linked to higher nursing home death rates during the pandemic. So most bullies don't have to go on the offensive because they have made massive mistakes of mass life and death. And yeah, he needs to get out. He needs to leave. And I hope... it's amazing, and I'm definitely not making a joke about this. It's when de Blasio says that, it sounds like a Me Too about Cuomo, and that is kind of the situation we're in. Where this is an open secret. Everyone knows, even people who are peripherally into New York politics know who this guy is, and now people are just getting a new sort of vernacular to say it, and hopefully it has some effect on his, stranglehold over this state, because it's
he behaves like a dictator, and yeah. I mean, I just to give our viewers who aren't in New York just some window into it. You know, Matt mentions that corruption with the nursing homes. He also just faced a scandal about COVID vaccines where he was only allowing hospitals, where he gets a ton of donations from for-profit hospitals, to distribute vaccines. He's had to backtrack on it because it was wildly inefficient. And all of these centers that are state-run, city-run, have received training for this very purpose, but he scrapped it because it's like, I got to reward my donors. He's comically corrupt, and he has been for a long time. And the IDC, which was a caucus of Democrats who voted like Republicans, he was so in favor of that caucus because it allowed him to not actually put any progressive legislation through. He's a centrist dictator. He is a far-right Democratic version of Trump. And you see that in the bullying and the obfuscation of COVID data, the lying about COVID data. It may not be as persistent. It may not be as obsessively covered by the media. One, because he's not the president, but two, because let's be real, the media has a bias towards centrist Democratic politicians. But hopefully those days are over, because luckily Morning Joe is covering it. Other sources are media is covering it as well. He is under intense scrutiny. The state legislature might strip him of his emergency powers. I am in COVID relief. I am 100% in favor of that, but it's not far enough. He needs to resign, and he's being investigated by the FBI, and he should be. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Ana Kasparian is going to be joining us. Very exciting.
Hey, today's show is sponsored by Monkpack, who make snacks that taste like our favorite sugary treats, but they have 1 gram of sugar or less. They're like, I don't know, granola bars, but nut bars as well. They got maple pecan, all sorts of ones. They're delicious. They are Monkpack keto granola bars. They contain 2 grams of net carbs. They're only 140 calories. Like I say, they come in delicious flavors like coconut chocolate chip, honey nut, blueberry almond, vanilla. Gosh, I'm hungry. They're keto-friendly, they're gluten-free, they're grain-free, plant-based, and they're non-GMO. I am hanging out with the kids all this week, and particularly Saul. He is not responsible for his own snack situation, and both of them love these Monk bars. But with Saul, it's really this thing, it nails it. Total wheelhouse. And, you know, one of the things, to be honest, and it's the same thing I got with just about anything else I give the kids, I don't want to give them junky stuff. And Monkpack has no sugar. Well, very little sugar. 140 calories. And like I say, they're grain-free, they're gluten-free, they're keto-friendly, they're non-GMO, and they're healthy for the kids. And they love them. They're delicious. You can try for yourself. You'll see. We have a special deal for our listeners. You get 20% off your first purchase of any Monkpack product by visiting monkpack.com, entering our code Majority Report at checkout. And Monkpack, they're super confident in their product. It's backed with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. If you don't like it for any reason, they'll exchange the product, refund your money, whichever you prefer. To get started, just go to monkpack.com. That's Monk, M-U-N-K, pack.com, Pack.com. Select any product, then enter the code Majority Report at checkout to save 20% off your purchase. Monkpack, delicious, nutritious. It's food you can count on, and we thank them for sponsoring the podcast. Also, Emma, I know you will enjoy this. She always does when I talk about my Hello Tushy. Hello Tushy 3.0 modern bidet attachment. It's finally here. It's stylish. It's eco-friendly. It's easy to install. It's affordable. I've mentioned this many times, but during the whole COVID great toilet paper apocalypse, Kyle told me, Kyle, who does a lot of our tech stuff, all of our tech stuff, really, beyond our tech stuff, told me that he got a bidet. And I was like, that's too big of an investment for me. He's like, it has changed my life. Then Hello Tushy came along. I'm telling you, it is a revelation. You begin to understand what the heck is going on. For I don't know how many centuries they've had a bidet, but they have them all over Europe. They have them in Asia. I don't know why we don't have them here, but Hello Tushy makes it super easy. Remember, Hello Tushy 3.0, it doesn't just cleanse your butt with a precise stream of fresh water. It cleans itself. It does it before and after it's used with the Smart Spray automatic self-cleaning nozzle. And here's the thing. It attaches to your existing toilet. You don't need any electricity. You don't need any additional plumbing. It cuts your toilet paper use by about 80% because you get cleansed by water and then you just dry yourself off. You pat dry yourself. Sanitation's simple. Schmutz Shield offers easy cleansing, and the knobs are naturally antimicrobial. Microbial would be bad, I guess. Antimicrobial is much better. Every Hello Tushy bidet attachment comes with a 60-day risk-free guarantee and a 12-month warranty. I can promise you, after those 60 days, you wouldn't even contemplate it, giving it back. Upgrade to the new 3.0 model if you're already hooked on Hello Tushy, or if you're new to the revolution, joins millions of happy customers right now and have a clean butt with every flush. Go to hellotushy.com/majority to get 10% off plus free shipping. This is a special offer for our listeners. Go to hellotushy.com/majority for 10% off. Hellotushy, TUSHY.com/majority. And then lastly, today's sponsor on the program, Sunset Lake CBD, sunsetlakecbd.com. I've been talking about this company for a long time. I've been leaning heavily on the CBD tincture to get off of, really not good for you sleeping aids. And it's worked. It's been great. I've used the Solve to deal with some of my sore muscles. When I had my neck issue, it took a little bit of the edge off there. I've used it on my eczema, but I don't know if it works for other people on their eczema, but I can tell you it works on mine. Matt has a lot of fun with the smokables, particularly the Smalls is his favorite. For me, I'm not that big of a smoker, but occasionally a pre-roll puts me in good shape. I'm enjoying that. They have gummies, CBD gummies. And this is the thing about eating the CBD. They have now CBD-infused fudge, if they have any left, because I would be surprised if they haven't sold out, frankly, by now. But the CBD fudge is delicious, and I'm telling you, when it goes through the digestive system, there's something different that happens. And it's just a super mellow feeling, and it's fantastic. And so it's like two treats in one. You just got to be careful if you're like me that you don't eat too many, because I have a sweet tooth and it's tough for me to stop. But nevertheless, they also have coffee infused with CBD, a couple of different roasts. They're delicious. They're my weekend brew. Check it out. You will not be disappointed. If you've never tried CBD before and you've had it before and you didn't have a great experience, that you are in the same boat as Matt and myself. And these guys, they just do a great job of growing this stuff. It's pesticide free. They use organic fertilizer. They use integrated pest management to deal with pests. They work with the University of Vermont to do integrated agriculture. So it's good for the land. They do great business practices, $15 minimum wage. They're Bernie supporters from way back. They're outside of Burlington, up in Vermont. SunsetLakeCBD.com. I can't say more about this company. Left is best. One word, left is best, will get you 20% off any of their products. Left is best. One word, 20% off. SunsetLakeCBD.com. Back to Emma.
Thanks so much, Sam. You know, I love those Hello Tushy ads. And now joining us now is Ana Kasparian.
Hey, what's up, Emma?
I'm trying to use the How you doing?
I'm doing well. Actually, no, I'm lying. I tried changing the lithium-ion battery on my MacBook Pro last night, and it was the worst decision of my life. So it's been a long night and a long morning, but I'm happy to be here with you.
I appreciate you coming on. Why did you try to do such a thing yourself?
Well, it's my work computer, which I need for the job I do 6 days a week. So when I went to go get it professionally removed and replaced, they told me they needed to hold on to it for 8 to 12 business days. And so I really had no choice. But now my laptop has to be connected to a charger 24/7. The second I take it out, it just shuts down immediately. So turns out I'm not good at tech.
Yeah, it turns out. I mean, I could have never seen that coming, but I do appreciate you coming on the show. Regardless, hopefully we can cheer your mood up, because people don't realize I love Ana. We're dear friends, and it's really good to see you.
It's so good to be here, Emma. I had been watching Majority Report even before you joined the team, but you've only sweetened the deal. So it's really great to be here, and I'm glad that we're doing this.
So let's talk about Ted Cruz, because this is a fun little segment. I cannot believe that he had the gall to fly to Cancun as the state is experiencing this. But the best part about what we're seeing right now is the cover-up. His terrible excuse, and then also the fact that if you saw, his wife's group chat was leaked to the New York Times. You have friends. We text. Could you imagine ever leaking our messages, or your friends leaking your messages to the press in order to corroborate something you've done?
I can't imagine that happening, but the people in my life that I keep close to me, I would like to think actually like me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And Ted Cruz is just an overall unlikable person, considering the fact that he was willing to go out there and phone bank for Trump. And, not only that, I mean, he's been one of the top Trump loyalists. And this was all after Trump humiliated his wife, banishing her from Twitter as a result. I mean, I can't imagine that sat well with Heidi, much less some of her friends or whoever was in that family chat. But the one point that I do want to make about Ted Cruz's behavior is, I mean, none of it was really shocking to me. Of course, he would go on a beach vacation while his own constituents are suffering without power and water. It's to be expected. And the reason why I say that is because the Senate is on recess right now. The Senate is on recess. I mean, we still have not passed COVID relief. We're still dealing with this pandemic. We're dealing with a terrible economic situation. People are really suffering. And Senate's like, peace, we're out. Yeah. And it's unacceptable.
Important constituent work. I mean, that was Chris Murphy's excuse. And for me, we'll get back to Ted Cruz in a second. I'm curious about your thoughts about not calling witnesses, because a lot of people were really outraged. I was off when this story was happening, that Democrats refused to call witnesses when Trump's team was planning on calling over 100, clearly wanted to gum up the works and elongate this process. And I think that was their strategy. I think the Democrats were right to expedite that. And I know that that's not a popular opinion on the left right now, but they're not right. The Senate is not right to go on recess. Let's be clear. But if we're really trying to make sure that this impeachment trial lasted so long that it made things incredibly difficult for the Senate to do other business, I don't see what could have been achieved by making this process last weeks longer. What's your thoughts?
Well, my issue with the Democrats is that they seem to be pretty wishy-washy in anything they engage in. So everyone knew that Trump was going to be acquitted in the Senate. And so the purpose that was, cited over and over again was that this is the opportunity. It's basically political theater, right? And it's an opportunity to really highlight and note for the record what Trump really engaged in, and then to use that against the Republican Party, namely the Republican senators who vote to acquit him. So if that was their intention and their obligation going in, then why not go all the way? And I think the issue that I have with Democrats is that they always allow the Republican Party to set the terms of everything, even when they have a slim majority, even when they have the power. They're unwilling to do what Republicans would do if the shoe were on the other foot. So if they were going to do this in a wishy-washy way and not fight the way that they claimed to in the beginning, then why bother at all? I mean, it just ends up giving Trump the opportunity to brag about how he was acquitted. That happened. They never, ever, I mean, this happened after the first impeachment trial. They hold the trial, they have the evidence. And like the whole idea is that after Republican lawmakers vote to acquit Trump, you go on a campaign, an aggressive campaign calling them out. They don't do it. They just don't do it. And so if they're not going to follow through on what the objective is, then don't do it at all, because it's incredibly embarrassing. We're already on to the next. And what's also infuriating is that Democrats are now talking about like immigration and foreign policy, and they're all over the place. Get us those checks right now. What are you guys doing? It really is. It's shameful. It's shameful.
Well, the negotiation process is just infuriating because they're negotiating against themselves. I mean, the biggest problem I have is that Biden wasted a ton of time just don't even go through the process of saying we're going to do this in a floor vote, right? Like there's no point. Just do it through reconciliation from the start. Because if they don't have this signed and checks aren't sent out by mid-March, there is a gap in aid, right? There's a gap in unemployment since the last COVID relief bill. So it wasn't time to kind of play patty cakes with Republicans. The time was to act swiftly and to understand your enemy. And I think kind of what a lot of our critiques boil down to is that the Democrats, after all of this time, after Trump, who they still try to divorce from the GOP, they still don't understand their enemy. They still don't get who they're dealing with. But yeah, that's infuriating.
Yeah, well, one thing to keep in mind, and I'm seeing no coverage of this, and it's really strange, but, you know, when it comes to the economic relief bill, Biden had a proposal that included a minimum wage hike, $15 an hour minimum wage. And now all of a sudden, he's really backing off on that proposal. He's wavering, and he says that he doesn't believe that provision would pass the Byrd rule through reconciliation. And it's so strange, right, that he all of a sudden starts wavering until you read the details about meetings he's been having in the White House, including a meeting he had just last week with corporate CEOs, the head of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which, by the way, also sent Biden and Congress an open letter arguing that the COVID relief plan needed to be much more targeted. And of course, they pushed back against the $15 an hour minimum wage. And so when we talk about Democrats being weak, I think that we also need to like really focus and hone in on how they're not really weak. They're just serving the best interests of their donors. They're serving the best interests of the people who have actually fought against the American people hardest. And those are the corporate CEOs. Those are, the heads of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, JP Morgan Chase, and what have you. Biden is not concerned about the Byrd rule, okay? If the Republican Party was able to successfully pass tax cuts for the rich, and that somehow qualified under the Byrd rule and was able to pass through reconciliation, I have a hard time believing that a $15 an hour minimum wage hike wouldn't pass in the same way. So as soon as you hear the wavering, as soon as you hear the wishy-washy language coming from corporate Democrats, understand that there's a very real reason for that, because we've seen how hard they're willing to fight against progressive policy proposals. They'll be wolves when it comes to those types of issues. But when it comes to wavering on the policies that Americans desperately need right now, it's not just because they're weak. There's a very clear reason for why they do that.
Well, it's also what I hate about it is the cowardice of hiding behind procedure. No one in America gives a fuck about the Byrd rule. No one knows what it is. No one cares. I mean, Manchin is literally saying that he would use the Byrd rule specifically to kill a $15 minimum wage. Like, imagine how idiotic that is to hinge your politics on that kind of thing. That's not politics. That's just an obsession with maintaining a personal brand, as Sam always says. And Manchin's brand is, I'm going to be as centrist as possible, and I'm going to screw the Democrats in every which way so that I can maintain this sort of image. I want to talk about something that Biden's been incredibly wishy-washy on. He had a campaign promise about canceling student loan debt. So people are clear. He could do it with the stroke of a pen. The same authority that he used to halt interest rates in the middle of the pandemic is the exact same authority that he could use to cancel any amount of student loan debt. He's decided that an executive order on $10,000 of student loan debt, that might be legal, but $50,000, then it becomes illegal. It's entirely arbitrary, and it's, as I mentioned, it's hiding behind procedure, I guess, to a certain extent, but also just an ignorance on behalf of the American people. Not even an ignorance that should be decried, but just because people don't know this stuff in the weeds. It's very cynical. But he has kind of, I think, convinced himself that it's like the moral thing to do, because if we cancel this amount of debt, then wow, what will that lead to? It'll lead to actually a jumpstart in the economy. But let me just get to this clip really quick, Anna, because this is Jen Psaki, who now is kind of walking back his comments from the town hall a little bit, or just like obscuring them even more. I just want to see what you think, because I don't know where this lands, by the way, where this fight ends up going.
Sure, go ahead.
Another follow-up on last night. The president said pretty clearly that he doesn't think he has the authority to cancel $50,000 in student loan debt. Today, Senators Schumer and Warren said in a statement that they were told the administration is still working on figuring out if it has the authority. So if your lawyers would determine that canceling this is legal, would the president go ahead with this? And if not, why not?
Well, first, on last night's town hall, for those of you who didn't see the whole thing, he was reiterating his previously stated position, which is he doesn't favor $50,000 in student loan relief without limitation. And he used some examples of the types of schools or when it should be reimbursed or refunded. He said previously that relief above $10,000 should be targeted based on the borrower's income, based on the kind of debt in question, public schools versus private schools, graduate schools versus undergraduate. Obviously, there's a lot of considerations at play. What the president has told Senators Schumer and Warren is that once his team is in place at the Justice Department, and they are not, of course, they're not confirmed at this point, he will ask them to conduct a legal review of his authority to act by executive action in conjunction with a policy review from his Domestic Policy Council on how executive action debt relief, if any, should be targeted. So obviously that's a review that would need to take place. There's a legal consideration there, as I think everybody agrees. There's a policy consideration, and once that's concluded, he'll decide the path forward.
He hasn't yet ruled it out if all of these ifs and buts are still in place, and obviously you need your team in place and the review to take place.
That's right. There needs to be a team at the Justice Department to make a recommendation on his legal authority. And obviously the domestic policy team is in place, but they would be a part of that conversation certainly as well. And in the meantime, if Congress moves forward and sends him a package that provides $10,000 of student debt relief, he'd be eager to sign that. So there are several levers here, and he's looking forward to that process.
Okay. So a task force, basically. He is hiding behind the fact that he knows that a bill to cancel student loan debt is not going to get through a filibuster. It's not going to happen. What are your thoughts on that clip? Because I just think she muddied the waters even more. I have no idea where this goes. I mean, I'm going to err on him not doing anything, but...
I think that your prediction is accurate. I don't think that he's going to cancel a single dollar of student loan debt. And the way that this conversation has kind of devolved just provides evidence of that. Let's talk quickly about the Justice Department under Biden and what they've done so far in regard to student loan debt, because that's very relevant with Jen Psaki, citing the Justice Department as the arbiter of whether or not Biden canceling student loan debt through executive action is legal. It is. He could do it with the stroke of a pen. And by the way, please check out David Dane's fantastic reporting on that. He talks about what Biden can accomplish through executive order, like bypassing Congress, not even having to worry about any of that. The Justice Department so far under Biden has decided to run interference for or on behalf of Betsy DeVos. Betsy DeVos is currently facing a lawsuit by students because she was held in contempt of court after a federal judge ruled that she must stop collecting student loan payments from students who had been defrauded from for-profit colleges. So there was a federal judge who ruled that way. Betsy DeVos ignored that judge. She proceeded to not only collect student loan payments from people that she had no business collecting student loan payments from, she did so by garnishing their wages. And then the federal judge found her in contempt, and she's facing a lawsuit by these students. So the students want her to submit a deposition. And guess what Biden's Justice Department did? Ran interference, and they're essentially preventing and helping Betsy DeVos from having to submit a deposition. Why are they doing that? She broke the law. She was held in contempt. She had to pay a $100,000 fine, which, by the way, was paid by the education department. So we paid for that fine, which is also infuriating. But my point here is, I don't trust Biden's Justice Department to do the right thing on behalf of students, period. The fact that they're protecting Betsy DeVos from having to submit a deposition tells you everything you need to know about how this Justice Department feels about student loan debt and students getting defrauded.
Absolutely. And I'm kind of interested really about the psychology behind it. I know that that's a little bit out there, but, you know, Biden came from a state that was the credit card state, and he was the credit card senator, and he is obsessed with kind of disciplining young people through debt and disciplining people through debt. I mean, there's a reason that students can't file for bankruptcy and lost those protections for their student loans. I mean, Biden really does believe in this kind of mythical notion of fiscal responsibility and debt as a way to keep people in check. And that's why he's so quickly backtracking on this campaign promise. And let's not forget, the federal government is the number one institution that gives out student loans. They make cash off of people suffering under the crushing weight of student loans. And so it's a lot more insidious than it even comes off. And again, hiding behind task forces, hiding behind procedure, hiding behind all of, we're going to come together and make the accurate decision on this. Have an ideology. Have an ideology. And it's this mythology of smarts and experts. No. What's the right thing to do? What's the good thing to do? I am flummoxed. It would also be a massive campaign boon to him because he struggled with Latinos, for example, in the last race. A lot of these for-profit colleges, they prey on people like immigrants and people of color in particular with degrees that don't give them anything, and then they're saddled with debt for many, many years. So it would just be a win no matter what. But he refuses to do so. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on just why.
Well, I mean, Emma, I think you're being a little too harsh. I mean, Biden has minorities in his cabinet. End of story. That's it.
Sorry, I forgot.
And I think the hollow pandering that the Democratic Party engages in and tries to pass off as, doing something in name of diversity, it's so insulting. And they use race, gender, sexual orientation, everything you could imagine in order to differentiate themselves from the Republican Party, right? And all of this symbolic stuff that they do, I'm sure counts for something. But when it comes down to actual substantive policy that genuinely improves the lives of everyone, but also disproportionately the Black community, Latinos, as you mentioned, they don't do it. They don't do it. For-profit colleges have preyed heavily, as you mentioned, on the Latino community, on the Black community, on our veterans. Okay. And what is Biden doing? What is he doing? And so I don't really think. Look, Branko Marcetic wrote a really, really great book about, Biden's career, who he really is. And the fact of the matter is, based on that very well-researched book, he's never really had like a strong political ideology. He's always been pretty malleable, right? And he tends to be more malleable in the direction of the right wing, in the direction of corporate interests. And that's exactly why he was so willing to champion that bankruptcy bill and make sure that it passes. And as a result, students are like unable to ever discharge their student loan debt, even if they file for bankruptcy. It's nearly impossible. And even if a federal judge rules that they no longer have to pay back student loan debt because they've been defrauded, Biden's Justice Department will come in and help protect a previous education secretary who decided to continue collecting those student loan debt payments anyway. I mean, it's just, this is who he is. This is what he represented before he was elected. I think it's silly to think that he'd be any different, even given the economic anxiety and instability that Americans are facing right now.
Yeah. I mean, the honeymoon's over. I'm still in favor of, I'm still encouraged by the fact that he wants to go bigger on stimulus and learn some lessons from the Obama era. And I think he's been good on vaccines. But that's kind of it right now. Mm-hmm. And I think we have to be realistic about that. I know you have to run. I just want to get into this fun Ted Cruz stuff. Maybe lift all of our spirits after being a bit depressed by the Biden stuff. So Ted Cruz did a little walk of shame at the airport. He went to Cancun. His excuse was that he wanted to go and drop his daughters off in Cancun, basically, because that's normal, right? Let's take a look at that walk of shame.
Yeah, I just answered a whole bunch of questions. Go home and keep working to get the grid reopened, to get power restored, to get water back on. A lot of Texans are hurting, and this crisis is frustrating. It's frustrating for millions of Texans. It shouldn't happen.
We know it's frustrating. We know. I hate the gratuitous Texas mask on his gross little beard. I hate that. I hate everything.
I mean, it's so funny. Yeah, the mask to pander. And when I look at that video, just look at his face. He just reminds me of a scared little boy. Mm-hmm. He looks terrified, and he should be terrified. I mean, he just completely abandoned his own constituents at a time of crisis to go on a beach vacation. Like, what's the excuse? Is Mexico stealing our politicians too? Is that what he's going to say? It's just so pathetic.
I don't know, Anna, if you know, he was very cold in his house. It was something he was experiencing alone. No other people around him were experiencing such a thing. I mean, but like, how callously does he take his oath of public office and public service? I mean, these are our public servants. They get paid by us. I know he largely gets paid by corporations and donors, but they get paid by us. Let's take a listen to his explanation, though. He held a little press conference where this scared little boy still wasn't able to come up with a legitimate excuse, except, by the way, to blame his young daughters because they said, "Daddy, tomorrow I want to go to Cancun and I want to bring all my friends." And he was like, "Okay, let's listen."
Whether the decision to go was tone deaf. Look, it was obviously a mistake, and in hindsight, I wouldn't have done it. I was trying to be a dad, and all of us have made decisions. When you've got two girls who've been cold for two days and haven't had heater power, and they're saying, "Hey, look, we don't have school. Why don't we go? Let's get out of here."
Blaming your daughters. That's what he's doing. He's hiding behind his young daughters. It's insane to me.
It's insane. I mean, anyone with any self-respect and love for their family would not use their children as a shield. And that's exactly what he's doing here. But, as he was talking about, I mean, there was a little bit of transparency there, though, because he's admitting, like, my kids were cold and we wanted to go to a beach vacation, like warm up a little bit, and it reminds me a lot of how conservatives usually operate when it comes to other issues, right? Like, For instance, this vicious fight to do away with reproductive rights for women, who is that going to impact? It's going to impact pretty much anyone who's a worker in this country, anyone who doesn't have the means to travel to another country in order to get, or another state in order to get, either an abortion or, the very things that Republicans are fighting so aggressively against. But if you're wealthy, yeah, you could just travel out of state, you could travel out of country, you could do what you need to do in order to circumvent the failures of our government. And that's exactly what he did. He thought, well, Texas is in a bad shape right now. I don't want to deal with it. Senate's on break. Why not go to Cancun? Not a big deal. And he basically admitted that in that interview.
Yeah, he made some more admissions that we'll show now, and then we'll let you go. But I just love that quote from that. I was trying to be a dad.
Well, you can resign and go be a dad if you want.
Yeah, dude, why don't you be a stay-at-home dad, right? Buck the traditional gender norms and just do that. You'd be doing a lot more good than you are doing right now. I mean, I feel for your family. You seem to have zero loyalty to them, and you've demonstrated that on the national stage multiple times. But be a stay-at-home dad. You'll be able to watch all the porn you want, and it won't even be a big scandal on your professional Twitter account. But he admitted, yeah, he was going to stay for the weekend.
Our girl's ass said, "Look, school's been canceled for the week. Can we take a trip and go somewhere warm?" And Heidi and I, as parents, we said, okay, sure. And so last night I flew down with them to the beach, and then I flew back this afternoon. I had initially planned to stay through the weekend and to work remotely there, but as I was heading down there, I started to have second thoughts almost immediately, because the crisis here in Texas, you need to be here on the ground, and as much as you can do by phone and Zoom, it's not the same as being here. And so I returned this afternoon, and I'm here working to make sure to do everything we can to get the power turned on, but also fundamentally to ask the questions, why did this happen?
Yeah, why did this happen? We already know. Was he about to lead into a blaming of green energy, which we know is completely counterfactual? It's 10% of Texas's power grid. It's the fact that they tried to skirt regulations by having their own insularly state power grid where they cheaped out. But it's unbelievable. He admitted it was going to be a little weekend trip. But before, he was trying to go with, in statements that he released, that he was just trying to drop his kids off and then take a quick flight back. I mean, maybe it was a kind of Mike Pence situation, right? Where he wouldn't let his wife fly alone with all those men around, right? Ted Cruz can't let Heidi be by herself with, in a tube with men who, could look at her.
Yeah, look, as funny as this story is, because he's such a clown and he's so embarrassing, Texans don't have safe drinking water. This is in the wealthiest country in the world. And, I don't like engaging in any of the ha-ha behavior. You might have come across some of it on social media. At the end of the day, these are people, they're suffering. And, as a Californian who's, in Los Angeles right now, throughout the week, as you read all of these horrendous stories, I keep thinking to myself, what can I do? What can we do? We know people in Texas. Is there anything that we can send? Is there anything we can do to help? And it boggles my mind to see so many lawmakers, and, obviously Ted Cruz is a prime example of this, who actually have the power to do things that improve people's lives, that can change things systemically, that can improve people's lives. But they don't see what they do as a public service. They don't see themselves as public servants. They see this as an opportunity to seal their financial futures. I mean, think about how many conflicts of interest there are baked into the system. The fact that we have lawmakers who can just invest in individual stocks, I think that's a clear example of why this system tends to attract some of the worst people to run as senators and, members of the House of Representatives. I think that we need to make this the type of job that actually is a public service and is seen as a public service and only attracts the best. Right now, the system is set up in such a way that it only incentivizes the worst people to run. And Ted Cruz is, again, a prime example of that.
You might be the prime example. I mean, I just can't think of a more loathsome dude. But Ana Kasparian at TYT and host of Weekends on Jacobin. Anything you want to plug before you head out?
No, that was perfect. Thank you so much, Emma. Loving the show and looking forward to hearing more of your contributions to Majority Report. Really miss you at TYT.
Yeah, no, well, I miss you too, but well, once this is all over, I'll come out to California. We'll hang out, something like that.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks so much, Anna. Appreciate it. All right, guys, we're gonna take a quick break and then a little bit more content, as they say. Content. Matt, you there?
Yep, I'm going to.
Sorry, I just didn't know. Yeah. Well, I thought that was great. We are doing.
I think that's a very good point about if we're going to get all on Ted Cruz about this stuff, which I think we should because he's horrible and, his operation as a senator should be made as difficult as possible, especially when he does something so callous. Everyone should get back to work. And I also just want to follow up on what you said about the student loan stuff, where Psaki says, or I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name right, but that they're waiting guidance from getting people staffed up in the administration before they could comment on whether it's legal or not to do the 50K. He's already commented on it. He's been commenting on it for a while that he doesn't think he can. And I don't know. I think it's just mendacity. And I think that the energy that we threw at Sean Spicer for blatant lies should be thrown at the press secretary now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing, though, is I saw there was some trending topic about Jen Psaki a few weeks back, basically calling her a girl boss because she shut down the reporter. I mean, guys, we should treat press secretaries like liars because they are paid to lie on behalf of the administration. It's
one of the highest echelons of lying possible in human history, really, is for the president of the United States. And yes, all the idea that that there's a question from one of the press corps, do you promise to be truthful? Or it's basically asking Captain America, will you stand for truth, justice, and the American way? It's people, these people are going to lie to you. It's your job to figure out how. And it's not even that hard now because it's clearly just this hemming and hawing about whether it's legal. Psaki has to cover for that. So they say, well, we're not sure yet, so we need to have DOJ. And it's the same thing as we want to take guidance from Congress, but 10K is what we're after. And all that, and also the targeting, about stuff. And I'll admit I have a lot of graduate school debt myself, but on no dimension of targeting is it worth it. Cancel the debt and get people out from under usurious rates for the gall of getting educated.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Again, some press secretaries may lie to greater degrees than others, but that doesn't mean that they aren't lying. And I appreciate Anna's frank talk about the Democrats because, I think we're all going to be experiencing some sort of desire to, and I've experienced it myself, a desire to kind of look for the good in what we're seeing right now because it's at least some semblance of stability or normalcy in an old, sense. But that's not really the case. There's still insidious things going on behind the scenes. There are still machinations and justifications for not making people's lives better. I mean, that's really what it is. It's bending over backwards to find managerial and institutional obstacles to create those obstacles in order not to improve people's lives. And it should be treated with that contempt.
Yeah, I mean, the foreign policy stuff is not a huge surprise, like Biden supporting, basically the establishment in Haiti and Ecuador. But it's also interesting, like that him as the middle of the party guy, right? Like the middle of the party is not doing nothing on student loan debt, at least rhetorically, right? The middle of the party is definitely not selling out immigrants and migrant communities like it looks like he's going to do with his he hasn't reversed I think it's who the question I'm curious about at this point is like what promise has Biden followed through on? What's the best example of one of those? Because everything else seems to be pretty horrid.
Well, just returning things to status quo, right? Re-engaging in the Paris Climate Accord, which I believe becomes official today. Renewing talks with Iran in terms of...
but even that is like I don't like the way they're doing that either.
Yeah. At the same time, though, like from Iran's perspective, they may be re-engaging in a different way as well. I have not liked what I've seen from Tony Blinken in terms of foreign policy, but like from Iran's perspective, there has to be a different approach as well, because they're like, okay, what if there's a change in 4 years and this is entirely ripped up? I mean, the skepticism from their end is going to be substantial.
Well, that's why America should make the first, second, and third move on it, in my opinion.
I should, but that would be disregarding decades of entrenched arrogance.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's the foreign policy stuff.
Yeah, there you go. But in terms of what Biden's been good at, vaccines, I don't really have a ton of issues with what he's done in terms of vaccine distribution using the Defense Production Act. And like it's him holding firm on $1.9 trillion stimulus is like one of the things I didn't expect him to do, I guess. I'm surprised that he's kind of bucking the Larry Summerses of the world. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it.
I mean, I guess we'll see. That's another thing I'd like to, I don't know. They're bucking it to an extent, but they've also gone back on means testing and the $2,000 entirely. I mean, look, I get the $1,400 plus $1,600. That $600 that made a lot more sense in January. Yeah. And like the farther we get away from this, I'm sorry, absolutely any good faith argument that you can just stack these like months and months apart is gone. So I don't know. I think
I agree with you 100% on, especially, I mean, the manipulative marketing of the $2,000 checks in terms of Georgia. It's going to be a problem for them politically. I don't know if you agree, Matt.
No, I think it should be. I think like it's impossible to. They're setting themselves up for exactly what, I mean, everyone who was very cynical about it is that a midterm of, hey, what have you done besides lie about what you were going to do? In terms of, like, I don't know, like the vaccine's good, but again, that just strikes me as not entirely Joe Biden's doing. Like that could have been done by pretty much any replacement level president. I guess maybe like Mitt Romney would have done it as a Republican. I mean, I imagine maybe, right? Like the baseline here is so low, and yeah, I don't know.
Well, it was set there, and it's going to take a second to kind of recalibrate everybody's minds in terms of expectations, I believe. But yeah, do you want to get to another clip? We're doing extended first hour today, right, Matt? Matt?
Sorry, I got muted. I think we can go to the fun half. I think Anna was enough for a casual Friday because it's just you and I in the fun half also. So.
Yeah, just us in the fun half. But yeah, I mean, Anna, come on, she brought the fire. That's sufficient for casual Friday first half. Guys, we're going to head into the fun half now, get to more clips. Appreciate you this entire week, sticking with our technical glitches. It's just been me and Matt. We've been short staff, but I really think the show's gone great, and it's all because of the Majority Report audience being so supportive and awesome. So love you guys so much. Can you please give the stream a like, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and Matt, what's going on Left Reckoning and Literary Hangover?
Yeah, last night we had pretty massive show on Left Reckoning. Grace Blakely, a big 50-minute interview on her sort of COVID economy, the financialization of the world economy stuff. Very interesting. And a little bit about state theory, why it's not just like more government spending equals better. You have to talk about how those economic decisions are being taken, and is it democratic? And also we had the Valley Labor Reporters, who down in Alabama to talk about the Bessemer Amazon union drive there, and a little bit about Alabama sort of submerged organizing history among Alabama labor. So full show. And we also went deep into that this electricity stuff in Texas isn't just red state, blue state stuff, because frankly, it's all market deregulation. The same thing that causes the outages in California is the same thing that caused them in Texas. It's we've gone to this competition model, and we go deep into that. So like Anna said, you don't want to get into this blue state, red state sort of enjoying where the suffering is allocated, because guess what? Texas's grid is extra Texas. They have to do everything a little bit more private and a little bit more freedom. But every grid has become like this, with this like dispersed responsibility for who's supposed to keep the lights on. And so we went deep into that. So patreon.com/Left Reckoning for that and the post.
Yeah, and guys, don't get into that red state stuff, because there are plenty of Democrats in Texas, even if you're looking at it from that angle, it's I don't know. I think that's a little sociopathic. But so Jamie, she has an Antifada Twitch stream tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. It's called a Pop Culture Party. Pop Culture Party. I believe she mentioned that they're going to be talking about Britney Spears and the Free Britney movement. Gotta say, guys, if you have Hulu or FX, I'd really highly recommend the Britney documentary. It's a lot more substantive and indicting about our culture than you might think. Twitch.tv/The Antifada. You'll be able to find that stream there. And of course, I don't think Nomiki streams today, Matt, but always check out the Nomiki show. And heading into the fun half, thank you guys so much. Like the stream. I've been forgetting to say that all week, but do so. Please do so. All right, here we go.
Left is best. Jamie and I may have a disagreement.
Yeah, you can't just say whatever you want about people just because you're rich.
I have an absolute right to mock them on YouTube.
He's up there buggy whipping like he's the boss.
I am not your employer.
I'm tired of the negativity.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you. You're nervous? You're a little bit upset? You're riled up?
Yeah, maybe you should rethink your defense of that, you fucking idiots.
We're just going to get rid of you.
All right.
But dude. You want to smoke this joint?
Yes.
Do you feel like you are a dinosaur?
Some good shit.
Exactly. I'm happy now.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win-win.
Oh, hell yeah.
Now listen to me. 2, 3, 4, 5 times. 847-906-501-457. 2, 38, 56, 27. 1/2. 5 8s. 3.9 billion.
Wow.
He's the ultimate math nerd.
Don't you see?
Why don't you get a real job instead of spewing vitriol and hatred, you left-wing Limbaugh?
Everybody's taking their dumb juice today.
Come on, Sammy.
Dance, dance, dance.
Rand Paul.
I had my first post-coital scene with a woman. I'm hoping to add more moves to my repertoire. All I have is the dip and the swirl.
Fine, we can double dip.
Yes, this is a perfect moment.
No.
Wait, what?
You make under $1 million a year. You're scum. You're nothing.
Excuse me? Fuck you, you fucking liberal elite. I think you belong in jail.
Thank you for saying that, Sam. You're a horrible, despicable person.
All right, gonna take a quick break. I want to take a moment to talk to some of the libertarians out there. Take whatever vehicle you want to drive to the library. What you're talking about is jibber jabber.
Classic. I'm feeling more chill already.
Good. Donald Trump can kiss all of our asses.
Hey, Sam. Hey, Andy. You guys ready to do some evil?
Hitler was such an
idiot.
That guy might be a Nazi.
Agree.
No.
Death to America.
You.
Yes.
Wow.
Wow, that's weird. No way! Unbelievable. This guy's got a really good hook.
Throw our hands up.
Ooh.
Wow.
But Sam, I gotta get off.
No worries. Let's. I want to just flesh this out a little bit. I mean, look, it's a free speech issue. If you don't like me,
Hey! Shut up!
Thank you for calling into the Majority Report. Sam will be with you shortly.
Actually, you sons of bitches, Emma will be with you shortly. I'm cursing so much this week since we are not on Peacock this week. I have completely gone rogue, as you may see. I am about to call into the phones.
That's dangerous to do. That's why I've tried to stop myself, because I swear pretty regularly.
Yeah, I do. I swear all the time. I'm like, I don't have any shame about it. It just increases my vocabulary. It makes things more kicky, have more of a kick. I'm going to read some of these messages. IMs. That's my favorite thing. Oh, wow. We have a ton of IMs right now. I can't believe how many IMs we have. Wow. Oh wait, these may be from the other day as well, but we'll start a little bit more towards the top. Dr. Chow's MD says, in regards to student debt relief, since this is something that can be done through executive action and does not require Congress, if Dems manage to lose one or both houses of Congress in 2022 and projections look bad for 2024, we could actually get it, because Dems will need something to give people get people to vote for them in 2024, and they will be limited to executive actions. That said, I do not have faith in the Dem leadership competence to do even the correct strategic move, but if there is any hope of debt relief, it is extremely Rube Goldberg. I think that point is well taken, and it makes a lot of sense, but unfortunately, it's just like, I can't bank on that. Someone said, I was hoping to hear Anna's take on the Newsom recall. Oh, well, good reason to bring her back soon. Just, she's definitely talked about it on TYT, I believe, and I think she's talked about it at least on Twitter, at the very least, and maybe on weekends. So check out all of her stuff. I love her so much. Anna's a really good person, and everyone should support her work, in my view. So there are plenty of things Biden isn't returning to the status quo, says Area Man. The move of the American embassy to Jerusalem is a great example. He's doing what Obama did after Bush. Rhetorical nods to progressivism while slowly ratifying the excesses of the previous administration as the new normal. That's a really, really well said,
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of that going on, and it's simultaneously both an argument against Democrats and Republicans, right? Because if you didn't have the Republican in there to make things worse, then they wouldn't have more things to solidify and make as a new status quo. That said, yeah, it's totally appalling and two-faced, and Biden is every bit as complicit in this stuff, just because, and like, the better PR doesn't make it any better.
Agreed. Jimmy Files says, Emma and Matt are a great combo. Enjoyed hearing you both this week. Well done. Yeah, I mean, Matt, I just love all of your insights. It's super helpful and makes me think deeper about anything I'm thinking about. So
yeah, I think it's been a good week.
I agree. Please comment on the Lauren Boebert Bazoom background today. It's low-hanging comedy fruit. Just do it. Matt, if you can find it, Katie Porter tweeted it out. We can talk about that in a little bit, says Jens, by the way. Emma, what do you think that there should be it's hard for me to read this far away without my glasses. I'll be real with you guys, so if I stumble, that's why. Emma, what do you think of the argument that there should be serious consideration of an eventual breakup of the U.S. if the federal government shows it can't deliver progressive policies? This is such a taboo topic, but if Trump or another fascist won another presidential term and assume dictatorial control, what other options do you see? Should the union be supported unconditionally, even if it is to uphold racism and exploitation? Says Zaltan. Man, that's a really.
I mean, yes, because what do you do in you're leaving red states to just be controlled by a Republican dictatorship then? Like, sorry. I think like yeah, I think that just not an option. That's a I don't I think it's frankly not a realistic thing to think about. And I think it's a waste of time. Like the California stuff, like okay, it's the third biggest economy. That's because it's connected to a continent that it can ship stuff out of and into. And I mean, yeah, I just don't think.
Yeah,
I don't support the imperial government. You can still oppose that, but don't think that like doing the West Coast new nation is going to lead to like one that you're actually proud of, because those people aren't any better. It's still capitalist.
Yeah, agreed. Phones are off, says PragerU alumni. No, they're not. I have
the Boebert thing also if we want to.
Yeah, awesome. Already call. I think this is our caller from yesterday. Says, tell Matt Binder to sniff my British balls. I don't know what to say. Spider-Man says, what do you think of veganism? I understand people don't like to be told what to eat, but this is the single most effective we can do as individuals to combat climate change. I'm trying.
As individuals.
Yes, as individuals, I'm trying my best in terms of trying to reduce my climate footprint. Veganism is not happening for me, guys. It's just not going to happen. Because I
almost think this conversation is a trap, because, like, honestly, the fundamental point is individual action. Well, individual action isn't going to change climate change. You need fundamental restructuring of how people eat and are clothed and how, like, transportation, like, and I think frankly, it'd be a better sell if said, like, I do meatless days like 2 or 3 times a week, where I'll do like, it's not vegan though. Like I can't get there. And I think the call to get, I understand like it's important to vegans, but like I don't know. Like I think it's forcing so much individual action in such a frankly severe change that's not made easier by the system people live in, I think is just again, like, not the best use of attention.
I agree. I mean, but I'm all power to people who want to be vegan. Like, I just don't think that pressuring people individually is the way to go, as Matt said. Antifa secretary says, Em, are you watching the season of RuPaul's Drag Race? Who's your top 3? I love reality TV. I don't watch RuPaul's Drag Race, and I know that makes me a bad reality TV watcher. The thing that you'll have to know about me is I have some sort of like obsessive thing about me that if I get into a show, even if it's really shitty, like The Bachelor, I will become obsessed with it for a while, and like I won't watch other things. This is why I'm such an intense sports fan. It takes up a lot of my time, so I don't watch a lot of things, but when I watch things, like if I'm watching the Rangers and the Knicks, the rest of my time is comprised of Knicks podcasts, Rangers podcasts. I'm going to appear on the Rangers podcast in a few weeks. Giants stuff, fantasy football. That's all like what takes up my time. And then I'll watch, some Real Housewives, The Bachelor, and of course some good TV shows. I'm rewatching Mad Men right now. But I will watch RuPaul's Drag Race because I have a lot of friends that say it's amazing, and I know AOC appeared on, and that's pretty awesome. So let's take a few calls.
Sir, do you want to comment on this Boebert thing?
Yeah, I just took a call, so 1 second. Calling from a 502 number. Calling from a 502. 502 number? Calling from a 502 number. Who's this? Where are you calling from? Yeah, voicemail is off. Okay, all right. I'm sorry, guys. We'll figure this out in a second, but let's first do that Boebert thing. Sorry, I had to hang up. I'm not sure if that was.
So this is Lauren Boebert at the full committee organizing meter for Natural Resources Committee, which sounds like it's done a lot of great work in this country. And And yeah, she's got several firearms. I come from a gun owning background myself. My dad is a big hunter. I've done some big game hunting myself, along with plenty of like pheasants and stuff like that. Not good gun safety to stack guns on a bookshelf, I will say. And I think if I could introduce a wedge issue into the gun owning community, it would be these type of freaks versus outdoorsmen. This sort of like weekend warrior bullshit, fantasist, like separationist rebel stuff with like the NRA's old pitch, like in the 80s and stuff, which is like, look at this guy and his son hunting and learning hunter safety, right? Which is clearly there's a lot more money because people are just using them for ostentation like this. Then, you know, a double-barreled shotgun, you're going to get something with a scope. And yeah, I mean, pretty sickening, but what would you expect from somebody who caused a mass poisoning outbreak with pork sliders in 2017 with in part with her Shooter's Bar and Grill, and I think it wasn't exactly related to that business. They were helping out though. But Lauren Boebert is on proper court documents causing a mass diarrhea outbreak, including reports of bloody stool, to over 80 people, age ranges from 7 to 56. So this is a psycho person, a scammer. Like she also got there's also a recent story about how she's been expensing an insane amount of gas mileage for her campaigns, despite having very few public events. And look, I know Colorado is a big place, but if you're expensing more than the representative for all of Alaska, I think you might be. I think there might be some kind of tendencies here, cutting corners, and I just call it. This is the MAGA scammer class of quote unquote entrepreneur who Trump really spoke for. I mean, they got the CARES Act stuff, and I mean, she's got the guns to prove it.
Well, yeah, and can you put that back up for a second, because the bottom rifle is what really gets me, because it's just resting atop, like, are those DVDs or books?
Yeah, it's got a shotgun on some books there.
Yeah, you know, very natural, you know. So one, either she's not pulling out the books to read very often, or two, she is, which I doubt. And then the gun gets dislodged and it has to be rearranged. The reality of this is that, one, she's doing what a lot of Zoom people and podcasters do, which is record in front of a bookcase to make themselves look smart. It's fine. I get it. Except
I just installed 3 of those things.
Oh, well, there you go. Look, it makes you learned, and you also have a ton of books, Matt. So you need some bookshelves. But instead of bookshelves for her, we got guns. I mean, like, how obvious was the planting of these? And look at the little mini handgun. It's so cute, right? Next to the crisscross of the rifles on the top shelf.
Yeah, and if you look here, this is a fracking rig. So like the kind that would have frozen in Texas and would have really hurt output at a crucial moment. So she's got a statue of that. And yeah, I mean, clearly this is not how she actually stores her guns. I don't think. Yeah, you're right. This is Zoom staging. And I mean, I think a good question is like, what message is being sent? And I mean, I think it's fairly clear that she's a fascist.
Yeah. I don't think it was that subtle, to be honest with you. All right, let's actually take a call. Calling from a 917 number. Calling from a 917 number right here in the area.
Alex from New York.
Alex from New York. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I have another matchup for you, but first I just wanted to say there's a new South Park coming. Vaccine special. Very excited.
All right.
Some of us still do watch South Park.
I gave up on that a little while ago.
So for today, I thought in honor of Andrew Cuomo's recent, fall from grace, as it were, we'll have Andrew Cuomo versus Chris Cuomo, and Lauren Boebert versus the old school gun girl, Dana Lash.
Ooh, these are actually good ones. I think Chris might beat Andrew because he's got little brother syndrome, right? He's gonna be
exactly. That was my thinking too.
He's got a little bit more to prove. Got a little bit more in the tank. What's your thought, Matt?
I bet you he does more fitness too. I don't think Cuomo. I mean, Cuomo's got the nipple ring thing. That it remains to be seen how that plays in. This is Chris versus Andrew we're talking about, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, I think younger brother.
Yeah, definitely Chris. And I haven't seen a photo of them together, Matt. Maybe you can look it up. But I think Chris may be bigger. Like Cuomo, or Andrew is more boisterous, I guess, and louder. But I think Chris probably goes to the gym. Probably a little bit.
Oh no, you're wrong. Actually, it's the opposite.
Oh, dang it!
Oh really?
Look at this. I mean, this is this is pretty important information for this conversation. But
wow, a little bit shorter.
But he's a bit wider. That's a lower center of gravity. I'm still taking younger brother.
I'm still taking Chris.
And what was the other one?
Boebert versus
Boebert and Dana Loesch.
Dana Loesch.
Okay, Dana Loesch. Yeah. Dana Loesch, I think. I mean,
Boebert kind of seems like the wind could take her away. She doesn't have enough oomph. So
yeah, Boebert does not strike me as physically imposing. I mean, Dana Loesch seems like she's probably I don't know.
Yeah, but
has been in physical altercations before.
Yeah,
like exactly.
But thanks for the call, Alex. Really appreciate it. Always love your calls.
No problem.
Also, I think Dana Loesch probably appreciates it too, because nobody's really thinking about her lately.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, she appreciates the free publicity. Calling from a 770 number.
Hey, is it me?
Yeah, it's you.
Is this the Majority Report 2.0? Now that we've installed Emma as our run a coup and installed Emma as our new dictator?
Yes. The United States still recognizes Sam as the legitimate leader of the Majority Report, though.
Yeah, and there's going to be a counter coup next week, unfortunately.
Yeah, I wonder who's gonna lead that one. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Kyle from Atlanta.
Kyle from Atlanta. How you doing?
All right. I wanted to have a discussion with you guys. Ask you what's your perspective on the so now that we've lost Rush Limbaugh, when sort of political enemies like this pass on, what do you think is the tone that's sort of appropriate to take, or is there any sense in being prescriptive about that?
I mean, I think it depends very, very wildly on the person. Look, the number one thing we can't do is lionize horrible people just because they've died. I mean, that is, I think, actually very destructive. Very loud on your end, Kyle, if you don't mind muting yourself while we talk.
Yeah, not at all. I'm sorry.
No worries. Yeah, perfect. So, shoot, what was I saying?
Could you repeat the question? Because I dropped for a...
He basically said, what now that Rush Limbaugh passed away, what is the correct way to respond when awful people pass? And again, I think more than I don't think you rejoice in death. I think then you just make fun of him and talk about how awful of a person he is. You can remember somebody for who they are. That's the number one thing that you should do in these situations. When Kissinger eventually dies, we should always talk about all the atrocities that he committed. When Dick Cheney eventually dies, we talk about the atrocities that he committed. And Rush Limbaugh, it's a different situation because he wasn't a person in governmental power, right? So you can't say he's responsible for this many deaths. But in terms of what he did to the culture, I don't know if there's anybody that's been as destructive as Rush Limbaugh in the past 20 years. There's been, So, I
think you just have... the notion that we need to be easy about people after they die is a harmful one, and it's one that I'm glad we're dispensing with. I think you just have to be and you don't need to be nasty about it, but you need to be speak truthfully about the people's life work to how you understand it. And when it comes to guys like Rush, it's just it was heinous and poisonous and had a bad effect on society.
Yeah, I mean, I watched Democracy Now! And their headlines did a little recognition of it, and they just listed all the horrible things he did. Mocked AIDS victims as they died. the attacking of Sandra Fluke, all of these, atrocious things that he did. That's what defined him, and he was a horrible person and a horrible influence on our culture.
Completely agree.
All right. Thanks so much, Kyle. Appreciate the call.
Thanks a lot, guys. Yeah. Hey, Emma, thanks for joining the show. I really appreciate what you've been adding.
Thank you. That's really nice to say.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. Have a good
Bye.
one. Bye. All right. We'll take one more call, or not one more call. We'll take another call, and then we'll get to clips. Calling from a 209 number.
Oh, yes. Hello, Emma. This is Daniel from California.
Daniel from California. How you doing?
Good. So I know you like to use the soundboard.
Yeah.
So can I get a shofar for being a member?
Sure. A shofar for Daniel for being a member. I don't know if Sam would approve of the loosey-goosey use of the shofar, but I mean, I think you deserve it for being a member, and everybody else who's watching should become one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't finish my sentence. A member of the David Pakman Show.
Oh, shit! I'm hanging up on you.
No, I'm sorry again. I still didn't finish my sentence.
Oh.
And a member of the Majority Report.
All right. Well, I guess you can stay.
Okay. Thank you for your mercy.
Thanks so much.
I didn't want to bother you guys with my I ams too much, so I just wanted to see what the Cruz opinion is on the following. I am sorry if this has been brought up before, but there's a populist online movement targeting your show going by the name of Force the Sub. So this cabal of Twitch viewers are threatening to withhold their YouTube subscription in a gamble to force Sam to get a sub button on Twitch. And my question is if there's any interest in placating this crowd.
So I would first have to understand how the hell Twitch works. Matt, can you please weigh in?
Yeah, the understanding we've been operating under, which I guess may be faulty, which is that Twitch doesn't allow you to simultaneously simulcast and monetize it. So we would be breaking their rules if we monetize Twitch as well as, did the show live on YouTube here. Apparently, I don't know if that's necessarily true or not, but we haven't taken it really farther than that.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you can flex your YouTube subscriber number and, pretty much tell Twitch that you can have a sub button there, too. I mean, plenty of other people do it. I mean, Pakman does it. Miki does it.
Right. And they all, we're probably all leaving money on the table in that sense.
Yeah, we'll check it out. Thanks so much.
Because we're anti-capitalist.
Hell yeah. We give up.
Thank you.
We give up revenue to
Jeff Bezos' platform for free.
Hell yeah. All right. Thanks so much, Daniel.
Thank you.
So let's see what we've got on the table here.
Let's do this. I mean, it's not entirely unsympathetic. People shouldn't be meeting up, but the UK Home Office has a sort of video which is very corny about not meeting up, and I just wanted to enjoy it. And again, they have the NHS, so they can say protect the NHS, which is frankly, that's a strong rhetorical move. But it doesn't make this is the you wouldn't pirate a car type of font. You remember that from the anti-piracy ads?
Yeah, this is also just the same kind of like late 90s, like evolution from grunge into kind of different types of rock. What would you describe that as?
Like new metal and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. They took this kind of format straight out of 1996.
Yes. Yeah. Shouldn't go to parties. Okay. So, a few things to say about that. Like, there's a problem when, meeting up is against the law. I've heard some discrepancy between what are guidelines and what are like laws, right? And it's a problem, I think, if you have police going into people's house to enforce guidelines. And you definitely shouldn't be having these meetings and having a COVID arms crest in your home because you're making a pub. Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely egregious behavior. But the broader problem, and it drives me crazy when I watch TV, which is the type of PSA you get from corporate media channels, like you see on television or whatever. It's always, we're in this together. Here's what you can do. And that's like the vast majority of messaging people are getting about coronavirus, right? This goes back to like the individual responsibility versus like what systems and people with power should be doing, right? Like, you need to mask up, you need to wash your hands, and all this stuff. You're constantly berated in that, and so you have when things are going wrong in other states, it's like, oh well, those people just aren't following guidelines, and often that's true because Trump's an idiot. But ultimately, the major failure here is a state failure and of health infrastructure and how we coerce labor in this country. We're unwilling to like let them off and pay their wages like other countries did. And so like this messaging is all aimed at the people about it's frankly management projects. And this is one I agree with, right? Like, people shouldn't be having these meetings, but there's a problem when all the messaging on a topic is a management message, and regardless of if that management is good or not. And I think that if I'm trying to intellectualize the corniness here, that's what is corny about this.
Yeah, I'm more just interested in the corniness, yeah, right? Like, I love the shakiness of it. I love the blurred out faces. Also, we didn't even talk about the fisheye lens. That's also just like very 90s skater. You know what it is? It's like they made Train Stopping 3. Like, that's the vibe I get.
Yeah.
But except it's, the ad's obviously pro-heroin. But anyway. I have to read this IM because I know people hate sports talk, but I really want to weigh on this. Emma, what's your take on the Wentz trade and the Eagles right now overall? So, okay, I didn't realize that the conditional second that they get turns into a first-round pick if Wentz starts 75% of the snaps, or they go to the playoffs and then Wentz starts 70% of the snaps. That's actually a decent deal for the Eagles because Wentz seemingly only wanted to go to Indianapolis, but in terms of just like, he was an MVP candidate, he played at an MVP level the year that they won the Super Bowl, and then he tore his ACL. Like, the dude actually has a lot of talent. He's apparently not well liked in the locker room because he didn't ingratiate himself to the city there in Philadelphia. I'm just enjoying the Philadelphia implosion. I think people are going to realize once Wentz does okay in Indy, because that team's really stacked and his relationship with Frank Reich is pretty good, how much of a dumpster fire Howie Roseman has made the Eagles right now. The Jalen Reagor and the Jalen Hurts picks are atrocious. And from a team building perspective, they are really on the downturn, and I expect them to be very bad this year, and that makes me very happy.
Carson Wentz is a North Dakotan, and I didn't really follow his career that closely. Not a huge football guy, but I do know that after the Super Bowl, he bought all of his linemen shotguns, which is a very North Dakota thing to do.
Very North Dakota thing to do, and also a lot of like other quarterbacks will get their linemen Xboxes, or they'll get them like really cool things. If I was one of the guys, like, you know, whatever, Kelsey protecting him, I'd be pretty pissed if I got a shotgun. Not good. He didn't fit in Philly, and he didn't care about Philly, and that was very clear. So I don't think he's like a cool guy in the sense, but I actually really do respect his game. I love big armed quarterbacks, always have.
Well, I mean, it's fun in the sense that he just chucks it, and I guess if I'll give my take, I don't think he's that good. I think he's always been a little bit overrated, and that Eagles team was amazing. Nick Foles looked amazing the year before Carson Wentz did. But I guess we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, I have a lot of hot takes, and recently I've been cold on my football takes and my football bets. So I could
also sorry to butt in there, but you accidentally said train stopping, and it's train spotting.
Train stop. Oh, shit.
It's an easy mistake to make. I've been saying Glace Brakely all week, so.
Yeah, I thought I kind of, nailed that one. So always a bummer to realize that in hindsight. I know you want to do the Ford one, but can we just quickly do the Giuliani clip because it just makes me so happy. Rudy Giuliani went on Steve Bannon's show. Steve Bannon does have a show. Yes, unfortunately, this white supremacist continues to platform himself. I'm not sure if it's still on YouTube. He was only temporarily suspended.
I don't think it is. I had to go to like warroompandemic.com or whatever the hell his website's called to find the full thing.
So unfortunately, or fortunately for us, it was finally banned from YouTube. But for a while, it was only suspended after he called for the beheadings of Anthony Fauci, I believe. But anyway, he continues to have Giuliani on, and much like these right-wing shows that continue to have the My Pillow guy on, why do it? Because they're gonna say something that is ridiculous and, in this case, embarrassing.
Do you have time for a funny story?
Yeah, we got about a minute.
I get this one done in a minute. So every once in a while, I was always his partner. So we'd always ride together. He always wanted me to drive because he wanted to be smoking cigars.
Let me just say here, there's a little bit of confusion about who he's talking about here, and I went to the context. So the Media Matter reporter says that he's talking about Trump here, and the full context is Rudy's talking about going golfing with Trump and Roger Ailes. So it's incorrect that Rudy accidentally says Roger here, but but it is unclear. Like, he's brought on to talk about Trump, and the anecdote does go to Roger Ailes, just to clarify this. So he's golfing with Roger Ailes and Trump.
Cigars, so ride together. He always wanted me to drive because he wanted to be smoking cigars. So one day we're driving, and these paparazzi are driving us crazy. They're taking pictures and taking pictures and taking pictures. And he said, Giuliani, what did you do now? They're all following you around. You know how I hate pictures taken? I know you're famous, but damn, can't you tell them to stay away? And he's like growling. And I say, you just come up to the green with me. Come on. So on the green is Michelle Wie, and she's getting ready to putt. Now, Michelle Wie is gorgeous. She's 6 feet, and she has a strange putting stance. She bends all the way over, and her panties show. And the press was going crazy. They were following her all around because they were trying to take pictures of her panties. I said, Roger, it's not me, it's not you, it's her panties. Right? Is that okay to tell that joke? I'm not sure.
We already told it, so I don't know.
Great joke.
Yeah, that's a great joke. Like how bad of a comment and a joke or an anecdote does that have to be to make Steve Bannon uncomfortable? Can we watch the last 10 seconds where you watch Bannon visibly squirm and sigh? It just made me very, very happy.
Yeah, I like that at the start of it. He's like, I got this down to a minute, like he's a stand-up comic, and this is a great punchline. This is just an anecdote where you got horny among some other freaks, dude.
Yeah, well, no, they're trying to go to break, right? He's clearly trying to go to break, but Rudy has to get this in. It's like in the last, 20, 15 seconds. Just when he finally says it, how uncomfortable Steve Bannon has, how gross and vile and filled with whiskey and just toxins do you have to be to say the story and make Steve Bannon uncomfortable?
You just come up to the green with me. Come on. So on the green is Michelle Wie, and she's getting ready to putt. Now, Michelle Wie is gorgeous. She's 6 feet, and she has a strange putting stance. She bends all the way over, and her panties show. And the press was going crazy. They were following her all around because they were trying to take pictures of her panties. I said, Roger, it's not me, it's not you, it's her panties. Right? Is that okay to tell that joke? I'm not sure.
We already told it, so
We already told it, so.
I mean, I may have guessed that the worst thing I would hear all year is Rudy Giuliani repeating the word panties. If you gave me enough time, but now that he's done it, I think it's just clear that that's definitely what's going to be the worst, sort of verbal output we hear all year.
Yeah, I gotta say, as a woman, that is like truly one of the worst ways you could refer to a woman's underwear. Panties is just a horrible word. It is it's not my favorite. So anyway, you wanna play that clip? The
First, I want to just share, like, remember this, like, this is a
right.
This is a randy old goat, folks. Like, that's who we're talking about here, and I just think what I find amazing is, like, so you talk about Bannon platforming himself. I almost appreciate it because this was America's mayor. This is a guy who, at the earliest, like, in living memory of myself, like when I was becoming conscious to what politicians were, this was the guy who was like, holy crap, he's the leader of the biggest city in the country, and he's saving us from terrorists. And I appreciate actually seeing the truth and not having those illusions. So thank you, Steve Bannon. Hope you keep having this guy on to talk about, getting horny with Roger Ailes and Trump.
Yeah, well, right, exactly. That adds a whole different layer to it. Roger Ailes.
Right. Yeah. Like Roger Ailes wasn't aware of the Michelle Wee putting stance before Giuliani told him about it.
He said Michelle Williams a few times. I was like, the actress or the woman from Destiny's Child?
No, yeah, Michelle Wee.
Right. Well, he said Michelle Williams a bunch. What a. All right, you want to play that clip and then I'll take some calls?
Yeah, we got this clip of Premier Doug Ford, and he refers to the leader of the NDP's criticisms of his rush to reopen as nails on a chalkboard. Now, I would tell Doug Ford that the phrase "nails on a chalkboard" is like nails on a chalkboard to women. And I think it's pretty obvious that it's. I think it's pretty obvious that it's a sexist comment. But I want to play this clip, one, to show like how much of a pig he is, but also kind of we'll have a meta conversation about how the media is talking about what it's talking about and emphasizing. So here's this exchange, and also NDP leader Horvath's response, which is good.
I've obviously listened to the chief medical officer from day one. I've never wavered from that. I've listened to all the CEOs, and maybe if you talk to some of the CEOs of the hospitals, leader of the opposition, you might get some input. Rather than sitting there and constantly criticizing from day one, putting confusion with the public about paid sick days, rather than sending inaccurate information out to the public and hurting the public, why don't you come and join us to support the people of Ontario for once, rather than just sit there and criticize. You know, it's like listening to nails on a chalkboard, listening to you.
I want to ask about the Premier's nails on the chalkboard comment there in question period. Is that appropriate language to be using in the legislature?
Well, you know, it's really not about me personally. It's about, you know, the fight that I have and that I bring here to Queen's Park on behalf of everyday families. The criticism as well as the proposals that we're bringing forward. At the end of the day, when the Premier doesn't like being questioned, doesn't like being criticized, he goes to the worst possible place. That's just who he is. But who I am is somebody who's going to come here every day and fight for the people of Ontario, regardless of the kind of mud that the Premier is going to sling.
Does he owe you an apology?
I think he owes the people of Ontario an apology. I mean, this kind of behavior from a Premier is wholly inappropriate, and and it's unfortunate that he doesn't see it that way.
Yeah, I mean, it is a sexist comment. Let's be real, right? So it's like calling a woman shrill.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, you can. A man's passionate. he can talk for at length and get loud, and wow, he's so charismatic and passionate, and the woman does the same thing and she's shrill. I mean, they're like, but your point is, Matt, that this is what the conversation as opposed to the substance of what they were disagreeing on.
Yeah, and I think it shows. I mean, the media is more comfortable play on those sort of identity lines than even the NDP party is here. And David Dole had a good video on this. I mean, he wasn't aware of the phrase as a sexist one, which we obviously are. But the other point, which is that like the actual the complaints the NDP is raising about the rushes to reopen and making sure everybody that needs it has access to paid sick leave and policies like that. Are the relevant story, right? And I think from the surface level impression you get from the media is it is this misogyny thing, which again, like it is misogynistic, but I worry politically about that because guess what? It wasn't feminists that won the last two presidential races, right? I think Biden leaned into not being a feminist and not being, he was like scoffing at Me Too at the beginning of that. And I think there's a certain sense that like these politicians don't mind it being made about that because like that's not as harmful as saying, hey, are you making it about paid sick leave, right? Because then you're going to get guys and they're good at animating these misogynists. So it's like, I don't know, like I find it pretty problematic. And I thought David Dole did a good video on it. And I want to rush to add, I'm not blaming the NDP about this. I thought Horvath's response was perfect and put the emphasis exactly where it should be. I just think like this is how things get denuded of the actual policy implications for the culture war.
Well, it's largely a media project, as you point out, right? So they are more comfortable operating in these spaces for a lot of the reasons that we've talked about, which is that they don't have to really call balls and strikes or be more objective about the uncomfortable truth that like the party that is to the left of where Ford is right on this issue surrounding COVID.
Right.
And they don't have to make those objective determinations. And so we see this in the American media all the time. They are very happy to traffic in these areas. It's like, a lot talking about issues surrounding, say, racism or sexism. It allows the media to skirt any substantive critique of policy. And it's also kind of why, too, like, to a lesser extent, we're seeing that right now CNN's talking about Q a lot. COVID was very easy for them to cover because it doesn't surround, even though, of course, all of these things intersect with class and intersect with policy. It doesn't directly do so. And it allows them to have coverage that's emotional, that's passionate, and that is, I guess, sort of involved in politics, but isn't necessarily politics itself.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I'm just shook by, we had two straight presidential primaries where Bernie was attacked as a sexist ahead of Iowa. And I thought this was a semi-recent invention by the Democratic Party. Of course, I, am naive in that sense because I was watching this energy deregulation C-SPAN clip from 1999, and Bill Richardson, Clinton's energy secretary, is pushing regulation as if it's going to be good for the environment. They mentioned Kyoto and good for tribes, right? So this is what this is it's not, obviously it's not the same thing, but this is a common sort of obfuscation, and yeah, it's pronounced and kind of terrifies me a little bit.
Totally. All right, let's take some calls, read some IMs, and then you want to head out?
I think so.
Yeah. I don't really know. Do I have a clip that I really want to get to? Other than that, of course, like the Giuliani. No, I think we're good. I mean, like, we have Fox News making fun of or like excusing Cruz, but who cares? We knew they were going to do that anyway.
Well, and also excusing Cruz. You know what? Let's do that.
Okay.
Because I have some points on that.
After this call, calling from an 817 number. How you doing?
Hey, Hey, good. Is this me?
Yes, this is you. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Matthew. I'm a native Texan and recently just moved to North Carolina.
Hi, native Texan,
so-
Matthew. How you doing? How's your family in Texas right now?
Yeah, thank you for asking. Yeah, thankfully everybody, family side is all good. Bunch of coworkers and friends also. Everybody seemed to kind of band together and help out anybody who was having the hardest times. So there seems to be enough electricity and water for friends of friends or people that know people, at least of the people that I know there, that everybody seems to be able to take care of each other.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. So I actually, as a native Texan, I wanted to bring up something that I've been following local news a little bit more in Texas than I think most probably do. And there's something that I noticed that a couple days ago when Abbott went on Hannity and spoke only about green energy and windmills, the same night he went on WFAA, local news there, and he actually blamed ERCOT up and down, said that there would be an investigation into ERCOT, windmills, and even admitted when asked that the natural gas pipelines were frozen and the natural gas providers couldn't get natural gas to the right sources if they even tried. And it seems so glaringly obvious that the difference in the local versus national messaging there. And I'm seeing still kind of diehard Trumpist Texans that still believe and spread the windmill story, but I think it speaks to Abbott knowing that locally he can't get away with the same BS because local publications will actually pay attention to the investigations and the real causes. Like we've already seen Texas Monthly come out with an article. Well, nationally, he can just blame windmills and the news cycle moves on and is controlled by, the bigger sources, Fox News, et cetera. So there's no real threat of those investigations or local stories about the real causes reaching a national audience.
Yeah. I'm sorry. So can you talk a little bit more about the local coverage as well? Like what specifically are you seeing?
So that was the big thing that I noticed was that Abbott going on, because so much has been obscured now with the Cruz thing happening, and so much local news is actually focusing on the kind of the outcome as opposed to, and that's the very, very local news focusing more on the outcome and the damage that's being caused as opposed to right now the causes. I have not actually read the Texas Monthly article. I believe it came out either today or within the last couple days. That should go more into depth, and I have not read that over yet. But yeah, that's more of what I'm seeing is somewhat measured from actual local coverage. As we need to understand what's happening, investigations, and again blaming ERCOT specifically more. Whereas the national coverage again just kind of hit windmills, green energy, and moved on.
Yeah. I think that's well said. I think, based on our conversation yesterday with Kate Aronoff, it's not sexy to talk about utilities, and so the national press engages a lot more in salaciousness and punchy things and personalities. So there is going to be a lot more of a focus on Cruz and windmills, and I guess addressing Fox's coverage as opposed to Texas specifically. Matt?
Yeah, sure. And
yeah.
And I'm a little bit unstable, I think, right now, but I would just add that even the ERCOT discussion, I agree ERCOT massively effed up. But I think even that is I understand why he's comfortable talking in that sense too, because this is really a problem of market deregulation of energy. And look, I totally think I'm not standing up for ERCOT here, what I sense, but in what I'm saying, but I think we need to California. There's a reason Ted Cruz was mocking California is because they had similar outages because these companies have been privatized, or the production of energy has been privatized in a very unhealthy and unreliable way. But anyway, continue.
No, I think that's very well said, and I think it somewhat speaks as well to why people are so angry with Ted Cruz leaving the state at the same time, because these are policies that he has advocated for and has pushed for as far as just deregulation in general. I'm not sure specifically for ERCOT what he's done, but we can guess what his views are there. And whenever that system fails, he just leaves because he can. He's mobile in that way. And so it's kind of fleeing the scene of the crime, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, it's totally, yeah. It's fleeing the scene and making an accusation of who the real perps are. I mean, that's what all this right-wing propaganda campaign has been.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Matthew. Appreciate the call.
Yeah, well, can I get one more quick thing in?
Sure.
All of the talk about Beto, being a Texan again, his chance to have a larger platform, a larger office, I think is hampered so much by his view on guns, right or wrong, whatever it is, for him to actually have a chance of something in Texas, I think his gun policies are going to have a big update to appeal to the larger population there.
For sure. Yeah, he might have killed his career. But he was born for that race. Thanks so much, Matthew. Have a good one.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye. So, Matt, are you stable enough? You want to cover that Fox clip?
I think we should probably duck out, actually. I just want to say, defending Ted Cruz because Cuomo is bad, let's just get rid of them both, folks. But that's all I have to say about it.
Yeah, well, Fox News is operating in those whataboutisms, not us. We open the show critiquing Cuomo, and you can count on us for balanced coverage from a left perspective. We're going to take 2 more calls. I'll read some IMs, and then we'll get out of here. Calling from a 920 number.
Hey, this is Joe from Wisconsin.
Joe from Wisconsin. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
What are you calling about today?
Yeah, I was listening to your stuff on Cuomo and talking about that. I know that because a lot of this is from New York, you have the perspective where he's like a really big, it's not only like he's kind of awful in general, but also there's a local thing to it. I was wondering if you had other Democratic or independent that tend to caucus with Democratic people that you would also like to shout out as problematic.
Damn. This would be a wonderful question for Nomiki, because I'm actually from New Jersey. So I'm learning as I go on Democratic Party politics, and I got a lot more familiar with it covering the Cynthia Nixon campaign at TYT, but still not familiar enough to really to answer your question. But I do think some of what you're seeing here is a real test case in these mega Democratic Party machines in New York, in Massachusetts, in California, that have a lot of corruption. And they're so big and so influential that, AOC really took someone down who was a product of the Queen's machine and Joe Crowley. And he was upheld by the corrupt Democratic state government here and state party. And there are just a lot of mirrors in California as well, and as we saw with the Alex Moore situation in Massachusetts. So whenever you have big parties that are traditionally blue, and of course there's all of this that goes on with Republican parties, please, but it's a big problem. New Jersey has it too. It's a big problem because these states are supposedly progressive, but they also contain a lot of money. And it breeds corruption. And so that's what we're seeing. And I know that doesn't directly answer your question, but I hope it gives you a little insight into what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Although I would almost make the argument that when Republicans do that sort of thing, it's not even as much corruption because they're openly pro-business and, they're not going against what the party platform is. They're not. There's the dishonesty of it isn't as much, even though they still have similar dishonesties, with a lot of their program stuff, like, the caring for families and all of family values being important and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. No, I hear that point. I think it's a good one. Thank you so much for the call, Joe.
Oh, definitely.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, this is going to be our final call of the day. Final call of the day from a 780 number. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Is this me?
This is you.
This is Devin from Alberta.
Devin from Alberta.
I just wanted to start off by saying thanks to everybody. Jamie, Emma, Matt, Brendan, Sam. You guys have been actually like a big help for me throughout this whole pandemic since I've been working from home this entire time and stuck in the house. And I honestly do think about Michael almost every single day. So I just wanted to say thanks to all of you for doing what you do.
Thanks so much. That's very kind.
I did have a question though. So talking about the minimum wage, now like I'm in Canada and in my province, the minimum wage is $15, which is about 12 American. And we're always talking about numbers and like $15. And I realized that $15 now is not worth what it was 10 years ago when it was first proposed.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, or maybe Matt, you have, but instead of a number, I keep hearing 60% of the minimum wage, 60% of the median wage as a minimum wage. And then like you would, I guess, decide based on region. I don't know if any of you have heard of that before.
I think I have heard of that. But I think the issue with the conversation in the minimum wage in this country is like, so Joe Manchin, right, doesn't think it should be 15 because it would kill business in West Virginia. That's his argument. But honestly, the issue is that it should be $15. Like that's the minimum in terms of what like most economists have said is what would have kept up with the economy and productivity at this point. So I think you can talk about staggering it based on region with a starting point at $15.
Okay. Yeah, the reason why I ask is because like the Democrats and the conservatives in Canada, even the liberals to a degree, we can, as people, we can scream about $15 all we want, and they'll take 10, 15 years, however long they want, until inflation means it doesn't really matter anymore. So I basically what I'm proposing is like, why don't we dedicate ourselves instead of screaming out 15 or 20, like that 60% median or whatever the number is, whatever the calculation is, so people can't come in and talk about Virginia versus New York or Alberta.
Yeah. I mean, the other way to do this is just tying it to inflation itself. And both of those, I think, are two ways to doing it. I'm not sure the ins and outs of which one would be preferable. I mean, I think my thing on wages is on minimum wages is just should be increased in even more than 15, I would say. And the problems that has in society should also be dealt with, right? Like if capitalists in some region have to pay people under living wages, then they shouldn't be allowed to be capitalists in those regions. And I think like so. I guess I don't get too wonky about it. The minimum wage shouldn't be increased to as much as it politically can be pushed to, and then you have to start decommodifying things like healthcare and housing and some of the other stuff that those wages are being sucked up by. Because if we continue to privatize everything and keep everything like healthcare and stuff private, it's going to be very difficult to keep up with that with minimum wage increases. But I take your point, and we should change it to something that doesn't require congressional action so often or at all, frankly.
Yeah, that's well said. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm mostly just focused on like the optics of it all, I guess, because it just comes down to people screaming about something. So we can remove as much friction as possible with arguments against raising a minimum wage or having a living wage as the minimum wage. I think that would be beneficial.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Appreciate the call, Devin. Thanks for being the last caller of the day, and a very thoughtful one at that.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, sorry guys, we got to drop off phones. I figured out this phone system. Look at that, Matt.
Look at that.
Look at that. Let's read some IMs, and then we're going to head out. Chanderson, C.H. Anderson, 96, or Chanderson. I'm a Texan. It's been 36 hours since I ran out of White Claw. Send help. I'm so sorry. I would love to know if you really could quickly type in, what is your favorite flavor of White Claw? Matt, do you have a favorite flavor of White Claw?
I had a very bad experience, or at least one on White Claw, and not more than two. I think I only had one, but it was so bad that it feels like it was multiple nights of drinking the stuff, not feeling really any buzz, and then all of a sudden feeling extremely sick, and then the buzz. So I am not a White Claw fan at all.
C.H. Anderson says watermelon. Okay, so that is one of the alternate flavors, I believe. I am a ruby grapefruit stan. Although I drank it a lot this summer, and I almost, as you've probably realized from earlier in the stream, I have kind of an addictive personality about stuff. So like I get very obsessed with things, and then I'll have so much of it, and then I get sick of it. For a while in the summer, all I drank was Ruby White Claw, and now I'm kind of like not going to touch it for a while. But I'm sure maybe in the summer I'll get back into it. Sam Cedar Simp says, conspiracy theory time. Ted Cruz went to Cancun as a means to get the attention off of where it really belongs. Ooh. Wait, hold on.
Yeah. I was going to say, we can't confirm or deny that where Sam was, or what he was doing there, or whose family he might have been with. So we can't confirm or deny any of those sorts of questions.
Can't confirm or deny, exactly. No comment. Hey, Matt, says NASA Possum. Thanks for having David and Jacob from the Valley Labor Report last night on Left Reckoning. Also got my IFPTE local to vote to join the North Alabama Labor Council the other day. Woot.
Things are popping off in Alabama labor organizing. Yeah, check out the Valley Labor Report at Labor Reporters. They paid to get their, they've mentioned it on the show, I think, before, but they paid to get their labor report show because there's a local right-wing radio station that's just horrible. I think it's in Huntsville, or maybe it's a different city, but they're paying to play their show on that station, which is awesome. That's way more. I mean, I am jealous of that, as like sticking around on Patreon. Like that is the way to distribute your stuff. So check out at Labor Reporters for their work.
Sorry, hold on one second. FYI, Doug Ford, DOFO to us, has a similar care home privatization scandal to Cuomo's that was set in motion years ago and cost many lives in the pandemic, worth looking into, says Genobi. I didn't realize that, but good to know. Fierce Deity 73 says, what about if the ghost of Mario Cuomo was introduced into the fight? It depends on the age of Mario Cuomo, right? How old is his ghost?
Yeah, and I mean, what kind of ghost powers does he have?
Right. I mean, can he... is it kind of
like... But I mean, actually, no, I think we can't answer that. It's an Italian family. There's probably some strong patriarchal respect. I mean, he's daddy. He's gonna take a try. I'm sorry.
It's honestly disrespectful and Italiophobic for...
I know.
on it. To be honest with you. I'm suing you for exposing me to Rudy saying the P word, says Antifa secretary. Please don't. Kevin from Philadelphia says, Emma, the Eagles problem is 100% a Howie issue and an extension of Lurie Lurie, the owner of the Eagles, for letting the GM ruin this franchise. At least the Sixers are crushing it. Look, I agree with you. I don't understand the hold Howie Roseman has over Lurie because his picks have been disastrous. Their drafting's been terrible. But look, I'm a Giants fan and Gettleman's our GM, so I'm not thrilled either. Avocado Aficionado says, the UK coronavirus ad is based on a famous anti-piracy clip that played before every movie on VHS in the 90s, so the train spottingness of it is thoroughly intentional. Hey.
Yeah, people have pointed out it's literally the same font from that advertisement.
Yeah. Someone says Matt's argument against veganism is shaky. No vegans I know argue that individual action will solve systemic issues entirely, but is Matt really suggesting individual actions don't matter? Does he recycle? Does he avoid purchasing from large corporations? Same idea, says Sam's Uncle Sam.
I'm not talking about my behavior. I'm talking about what you emphasize on a political show. And I think there is an overemphasis on individual action. And I don't know. I'm a bit salty, like, about certain things because, like, we were covering the Mi'kmaq fishing stuff earlier, and like, I just think it comes up too much when I see like comments on indigenous fishing, like trying to protect themselves from like attacks and saying people should just go vegan. Like, I don't know. Like, and I'm not trying to. I'm not meaning to Bernie bro vegans here. With that thing, but I just think like as a point of emphasis, it's overemphasized. I said like I think people should go. I do meatless days. I'm a Midwestern boy, so it's hard for me to go without dairy. But just I think yes, in your life, if you want to, I do things like that all the time. But I think we need to emphasize things that can actually cause like the structures that need to be changed.
Yeah, I mean, I for the record, I agree with Matt's take a lot. Wine recommendation. Oh, this might have been from the other day. Vinho Verde, a Portuguese wine. My favorite is Casal Garcia, but we like to call it Casual Garcia, says Flair Child. That sounds like you sound like my kind of people. Although I haven't drank this week, but soon enough, probably tonight. Okay, two more. Southern Workers Assembly organizing a bunch of rallies in support of Bessemer this weekend, says NASA Possum. So that is good to know. And the final IM of the day. I love this thing. Dr. Scrubworth, Massachusetts politics is insanely frustrating. So much complacency with do-nothing Beacon Hill and idiot Baker. We should explore that more. We got a little bit of a we dipped our toe into it with the Morse thing, all of us in the progressive space. But there should be more emphasis on that. Matt, thank you so much for all your help this week.
Great job, Emma.
Yeah, thank you guys for being awesome. Please like the stream, subscribe, tell your friends to subscribe, all that. Do it. Become a member. See you guys next week.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want, but I know somehow I'm gonna get there. I wasn't looking when I just got caught between the truth and the lie bar. But finding out won't make me feel any better. Yeah, I know the clock is ticking, but the meds are gonna kick in, and my pilot light shining bright. I guess somewhere the choice was made.